finally on season 2. We have officially completed 10 episodes so far for the first season. It has been truly an adventure, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of my amazing guests that I had on. And I hope that each of you really took the time to listen to each of them and understand that the benefits of healthcare professionals are truly endless, and there are so many different skill sets that people have within those fields to grow from. And I find it's truly, truly motivating to learn their stories and understand where, you can really further your own career as well as help the public, which is always amazing. At the end of the day, as healthcare professionals, that is our job. That is our full commitment to the community as well as our clients, that, we are trying to give you the best care possible. So, you look at Crystal, who opened her eyes with naturopath and helping us better understand the communication and developments that you can have within your own business to help all different types of general public who may not be able to afford a full treatment or are able to give whatever they can give for the treatment to get relief. And I think that is truly inspiring. You look at Joelle, who was an amazing physiotherapist who really opened her eyes with mentorships and how to, really help students. And same as Malik, he is now running a program for kin students who, may be concerned about the exams or don't know how to prep, and he's already been there. So why not get involved with someone who's already been in those shoes, already gone through those exams, and can make you feel a lot more comfortable? So the opportunities for healthcare professionals and the connections you can build within them is truly endless. With this being said, I am so happy to announce that the second season is going to be on entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurship is something that, isn't for everyone, but for those people who have that drive, the commitment, willing to work crazy hours for yourself also. Like, working for yourself definitely has a lot of pros and cons. Are you good with taxes? Are you good with write-offs? Are you good with connections? So what this second season is going to open your eyes to is all the different industries that are out there. And I have so many amazing guests coming on that are going to help give you tips and tricks of how to further your career within those industries and how they really had difficulties in their professions, whether it was a plateau or it was a tipping point in their career where they expanded into multiple locations. I have some of the most amazing therapists coming on who are also going to tell you about their story with NHL players or professional athletes and, how that furthered their career with connections and just plain old being a sponge. And it's something that I talk about all the time, is being a sponge is something that can further your career, because little do you know, the more that you listen, the more that you will learn from other people who have been there already. So if you are interested, please tune in to, this season. It is super fun. It is very adventurous with all the different types of topics, and we really dive into all the different types of industries. So I hope you tune in. Enjoy. The first one is about to start, so enjoy.
Welcome. You're listening to our podcast, Two Massage Therapists in a Microphone. My name is Mark. I'm a registered massage therapist, registered kinesiologist here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. We've got a real cool guest sitting on our couch, repeat guest. I like repeat guests.
I'm so excited because the first time that
was a long
she was
time
here,
ago. That was season 1 probably.
Yeah,
Yes.
I wasn't able to be here. So, and it's funny because she walked into our space today, and I just started talking to her like we're old friends because I've heard your voice, you've been on our podcast, but then it suddenly hit me after talking to her for a minute. I'm like, right, you and I have actually never met face to face. So everybody, with myself, welcome Lindsay back again.
What's up, everybody? What's up?
So the last time Lindsay was here, her and Mark were talking about sport massage therapy.
Yeah, because you were doing some work with the Ontario chapter, right?
Yes, I was.
Oh, that's past tense.
Yeah, no hurt feelings for the record. I just decided, because I have just finished my diploma in sports nutrition.
Nice.
So now I'm going to be launching a whole new platform. So I just thought that I really need to focus on that.
Cool.
So,
Where'd you do the sport nutrition? Humber?
No, funny enough, during COVID, like everyone else who wasn't cooking, decided to educate themselves. And I went with Shaw Academy,
Cool.
which is like a worldwide online platform.
Yeah.
And I got my diploma through there, and you got to pick the time of day that you wanted to do your course, and then you just sign in, do it. It's like an hour and a half each time. You do it twice a week, and then you just keep going, and then hopefully get your diploma at some time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, today's episode is going to be very different from
Double
sport
shot,
massage therapy
double shot.
because Lindsay also is a podcast host. She has a podcast called Lattes with Lindsay. I was so excited to say that name because I like lattes, and it rolls nicely. Lattes with Lindsay. And her reason for not calling it Tea with Lindsay also is fascinating, but I'll let her tell you about that. So today we're going to be talking about all things entrepreneurship because Lindsay is an entrepreneur, as are myself and Mark, and we thought we would just get some information out to people who feel they have that fire burning in them.
And this for me is a one topic that you can never talk about too much because every time you talk about it, it goes a certain way or there's other information that pops out of it. And let's face it, if you are an entrepreneur or you've got that entrepreneurial spirit, you can never get enough of it. You can never get enough of hearing
It's
anything.
in your blood.
Well, and that's what Lindsay was saying is people ask her questions like, where do you start? Which courses? How do you do this? And the thing is, when you are an entrepreneur, yes, you have a plan. Of course, you have to have a plan, and we'll get into that. But your plan changes as you go, and new ideas come to you, and that's the exciting part about being an entrepreneur. Is you get this idea and you just run with it, and you do it, and you figure it out along the way. And I love watching Mark do all of that because it's crazy watching your brain work and go 40 different directions in 40 minutes. It's amazing.
I want to be able to track how my ideas happen. Like, I want to know what goes on. Yeah, I do. Because sometimes, when I think about it most is when I'm doing stuff with my motorcycles, right? So whenever I'm building or just doing some sort of custom work on it, and I get an idea for, maybe I'll try to relocate this and put this here. I'm like, I have no idea where it came from. And I want to be able to kind of just retrace the steps in my mind. How did I arrive at this point that suddenly I have the grinder out and I'm cutting the frame? Like, I want to know how I got there. It's I don't know.
Well, and that's why Lindsay actually had the idea to do this episode because she gets a lot of questions from people who are thinking that they want to start their own business and they don't know where to start. So this is really kind of a roundtable brainstorming discussion where we're all just going to talk about the things.
Who's inquiring mostly? Is it other therapists? Is it now that you're, a little bit more into the wellness, nutrition? You're always in the sport world, but
I'm kind of everywhere, to be honest. Like, it's so funny when I have conversations with people because they're like, so what realm do you focus on? And I'm like, I don't think I have like a specific realm because I have fun with all realms, I guess. But especially I still have people contact me who I did school presentations with.
Right.
And, they're curious about the foundation blocks that I had when I was in school to say, okay, I knew that I wanted to be a sports massage therapist. So what made you want to do specifically that versus going into palliative care or whatever? But I think the initial headset as an entrepreneur is so hard sometimes because you want to do everything. And that's the trickiest part because I don't have a specific realm because I'm so eager to get into all realms. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean so much because I feel like Mark, sometimes I get these ideas and I'm like, I want to do this and this and this and this. And because Mark's such an idea guy and such a everything's possible guy, I'll say to him, at some point in my career, I want to do this. And his response to me each and every time I come to him with one of these things, he's like, cool, do it.
Do it.
And I'm like, but what?
Do it.
And he's just do it.
Do it. Stop
do
telling
it.
me about it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Honestly, shut your mouth. Just
start
have a
doing
whiteboard and just draw it.
And just do it. And you know what? I think that's a really big characteristic of any type of entrepreneur is that so many facets excite you. It's like you're not really on this straight and narrow path. It's like there's so many opportunities. There's so many different twists and turns I can take. And I think you have to be very open-minded and willing to sort of go with the flow of where things are taking
Willing to
you
just
and
do it, yeah.
and just do it. Yeah. Because no matter
That-
what
well,
I
that
say to
is
him, it's just do
literally
it.
That is the big piece of it. You can him and haw about it all fucking day long. You can sit there with your whiteboard and your lab coat and your beakers, bubbling beakers happening. And if you don't just get down and start doing something, you're
I
drawing
think-
out your plans. Just let's start executing.
That's the hardest thing though, because when people ask you those questions, like I like same thing. I have people messaging me on Instagram saying like, okay, but what made you start like your own business and all that stuff? And it's like, I don't have a specific answer for that because it's you do want to dip and dabble into so many different careers because God, I watch movies for God's sakes and I get motivated.
You probably do have an answer because you know what you don't like about working for somebody.
Yeah.
So what don't you like about working for somebody?
I think it's more so for me, if I have a mindset of guidelines that I follow very strictly, whether it's protocols for massage or it's types of techniques that I know work versus what, say, they would recommend for you, it's difficult, right? And it's hard because you want to stand your own ground, but because you work for technically someone, it changes your perspective or it changes the way that you feel comfortable in your shoes and throws that drive to say, okay, you know what? I understand that this isn't the way I like to play the game. I want to play my own game. And then when I realize that my game is possible, then I start putting all the cards out and I say, okay, what do I need to build this foundation so I can get there by myself, you know? But that's not honestly for everyone. I think that's the hardest thing. Like we were just talking about that, the fact that entrepreneurship is amazing. Like there are so many pros to entrepreneurship, but it honestly is not for everyone.
It is not,
you know?
and it's good that you recognize it. I think a big thing is because it's the buzzword to be. It's cool to be an entrepreneur. Gary Vee talks about being an entrepreneur and blah blah blah. It's an in thing to be an entrepreneur, but it's not. If you don't have the ability to want to take that risk, if you can't even say risk without stuttering, then it's not for you, and that's fine. It's not for everybody. Go be someone else's number one.
Yeah,
right?
and we were
'Cause
talking
everybody
about
needs a number one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we were talking about what you bring up very often, Mark, is that a lot of people get into or have this idea of becoming self-employed and, starting up their own practice or their own business or whatever it is because they want this, quote, work-life balance. And we were talking about the fact that anybody who is actually an entrepreneur knows that that's not a real thing. It's like your work and your life are just so intertwined, but it's not in a bad way because when it's your business and you're building it, it's just, you might, like Mark was just saying, you might have an idea at 3:00 in the morning and you are like, okay, let me just start researching that. And if your partner isn't your business partner as well, they're going to look at you like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
But
so many restrictions when it comes. I'll give you, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant because I was going to go on a rant last night, but I'm going to do it right now. And because, okay, so are you in the RMTAO Facebook group?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there was a post in there when we had James Dondo in, and he was talking about working at Massage Addict and their whole affiliation with Hello MD and Shoppers Drug Mart and the cannabis prescriptions, and Massage Addict's clients would be getting discounts for cannabis prescriptions and all that kind of stuff. And he was talking about a lot in the RMTAO group or any massage group actually that would allow him to post shit in it. Anyway, so someone else brought up that Know Your Body Best, which is a supplier of products, a supplier of
body workers.
Equipment for body workers, not just massage therapists, but body workers. They have an education part to their business. And one of the courses that they were offering is something about cannabis and CBD.
It was a treatment protocol. It was called like CBD treatment protocols. The main gist of the course was helping people to understand the endocannabinoid system and how cannabinoids work in the body, which is kind of just like fucking cool information to know.
It's great information
Yes,
to
as
know.
a RMT, it's outside of your scope to use it. But I didn't really see an issue with the course existing.
Oh, you don't understand. Some dude, we know who he is. and he's bragging about it in that group, how he went down to Know Your Body Best, and he talked to the people at Know Your Body Best about how, CBD and its prescriptions is outside of our scope of practice, and therefore you shouldn't even be offering this course. And I'm thinking to myself, you're a fucking asshole right here, because one, just because I want to learn about this shit doesn't mean, just because I want to learn about this shit doesn't mean I'm putting it into my practice. Two, I have the intelligence to understand what the scope of practice is, and therefore I can decide what I want to learn and how I'm going to put that in my practice myself. Three, you fucking bullied a bunch of people to take down a course for, and this is the entrepreneur part, and this is why I like to hold on to my own shit. And I was talking to a friend of ours, a colleague of ours last night, about holding on to your own shit. Whoever the course provider is for that just lost a whole fucking ton of money because some yahoo wanted to play massage fucking police officer and bully some people to take down a fucking course.
Yeah, we weren't too
It's
impressed
insane.
with that. Also because, again, when you look at some of the products Know Your Body Best sells, technically a lot of them they sell a lot of like topical analgesics and whatever. We can't use that, but how come we don't have an issue with them selling BioFreeze or even selling CBD products? Because we know we can't use it, but they're a retailer.
So let's even take this one step further, Mr. Police Officer. Why didn't you give them shit for even selling those products? Guess what? They don't sell shit to just RMTs. Like, I mean, they're a store for body workers. Like, so the whole entrepreneur piece, like, this is where I'm talking about. Like, I feel so bad for whoever's course that was, if they deliver that course and maybe they give a percentage to Know Your Body Best for hosting it, or whatever the case is. It may have been
Know Your Body Best course.
Maybe it was their course. Maybe they purchased the course and they're like, okay, we own this now, so we're gonna. Now they can't do jack with it because they're being bullied by this guy.
What I think should have happened. So Mark and I were trying to see both sides of the story, right? We understand there's a lot of massage therapists that really don't like having CBD or cannabis associated with massage therapy. That's fine.
Don't learn about it then.
So what I said was, in the course description, it said this is valuable information for massage therapists. So I said, why not, instead of telling them get rid of your course, say change the description and exclude us from the description because it isn't within our scope, and we're okay with that. And like Mark said, we're also all intelligent enough to know we're not going to take this course and then start incorporating CBD into our treatments.
And what if I just want to fucking learn about cannabinoids? This is a nice way to do it.
When it comes to any of these things that realistically your clients are going to talk to you about, why is it a bad thing to have knowledge about it? Why is it a bad thing for a massage therapist to take a course in nutrition? Can I tell my clients, can I give them nutrition plans and diet plans? No. Okay, that's outside of my scope as a RMT. But is it bad for me to understand nutrition?
It's not bad at all. And a lot of this stuff comes up. Like, isn't it great to know that the presentation of possible spoon-shaped nails has to do with an iron deficiency? Of course, that's fucking great to know as an RMT, as a body worker. But anyway, so the entrepreneur piece, I feel bad for whoever owns that course now, because you just had a whole shitload of fucking income potentially get stolen away from you from someone who's walking around pretending he's got a fucking badge.
I just think at the end of the day, education is power regardless of what it is. And if the seed is planted into the universe, that doesn't mean that you have to watch it grow. You can just look and accept that it's there, and that does not mean that you have to apply it to your own life or even sign up for the course. Like, I mean, there's so many things online that you can look at and be like, oh, that's interesting, but it's not for me because I know better.
And
you know what I
mean? This is what I mean, because we are such entrepreneurs. This is how we think, and we're not going to fucking step on someone else's toes if it ain't got nothing to do with us, right? Like, you just fucking killed someone's business. Like, that bothers me. That bothers me to no fucking end.
He was really so furious last night.
Because it's the same way how COVID kicked everyone's ass, and I felt guilty when someone bought $100 online course that I have running on Facebook while RMTs can't make money. I felt guilty about that. And anyway, this guy just stole fucking money from whoever the course creator is.
Well, again, as we're talking about the whole like work-life balance being a thing that we know doesn't really exist. Another thing you don't realize when you're not an entrepreneur is how much literally blood, sweat, and tears goes into your business, and something like that can fucking kill somebody.
It's like, you deliver a course in person, that's one thing, because that's you can mess with that so easy. To put together a really good online course takes so much fucking time and effort and resources. It's way more than creating a PowerPoint, creating some material, standing in front of a class and delivering it, and you can change it any way you want when you're doing it, because it's live and it's in person. When you're doing an online course, you have to cover every fucking base. You got to sit back and kind of figure out every fucking played out scenario that can possibly happen and make sure that you've covered it from all angles in this, because it is just going to stand here on its own without anybody messing around with it. I don't know. I just feel really bad. Sorry, I totally went on a straight on that.
No, it's okay. But
take that
I totally get, I mean, my personal business is called Literally Needing Balance. And I think the funny thing about that is the fact that most entrepreneurs have such a hard time finding balance, because we are so driven to explore new opportunities as entrepreneurs that it's hard, because our life is an opportunity in a way. Like, if you look at it that way, like if I'm doing massage therapy, I'm doing personal training, I'm doing nutrition. Well, of course, that's every part of what my life should also be, and I should be motivated to go that way as well, other than just helping other people. So it's balance is definitely a word that I find is a hard word to explain to people as an entrepreneur, because you're so hungry for more. You want to further your career, but then you also need to know how to enjoy life and, do travel, but not just with like sports teams, but physically travel where you have your own schedule.
I almost feel like when people hear the word balance, they automatically go to the seesaw that's completely balanced 50-50. Like, it doesn't have to be a 50-50 balance. We're just saying balance where you're handling what you need to do for your business, what you want to do for your business, what you want to do and need to do for your personal life, and you're making it work. It doesn't have to be this equal, all sum of everything equals zero.
We had a really great conversation with another entrepreneur yesterday after we recorded a podcast with Scott and Monica, who run the Canadian Massage Conference.
Oh, yes.
We finished recording with them yesterday because they are doing something really exciting. They're doing a virtual conference this year.
Yeah.
So
the Canadian Massage Conference in person? It's not in person this year.
It's online.
Virtual.
Now which is pretty cool.
That is going to be intriguing.
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting. Okay.
So we finished recording with them, and then we decided to go out for a couple of drinks after. So we're hanging out on a patio, and Monica is, Monica's an entrepreneur, and she's got children, so she's a mother. So she's, she's busy. She's got a billion things going on. And she was saying to us when we were talking about the whole balance aspect, she said, I was running 3 businesses and had 2 kids in competitive sports, and I never missed a fucking game.
Holy.
That's balance. I mean, she managed to keep the businesses running because, like Mark said, it doesn't have to be 50-50. It's, you have to be able to prioritize. You have to know what's important to do right now. You have to have this idea of where you're going, what steps need to be done. And then when it comes to balance, I think what people don't realize, it's not like, okay, you have this 9 to 5 where you go to work and then you have off hours. No, it's, I have to get this done by this day. So here, I've got 3 hours here, and then I've got to go pick up my kids. Now I've got 6 hours where I can work on this over here. And then, we've got this family function. It's just about being really good with your time management and scheduling. And it can feel incredibly fulfilling and not feel like, oh, all I do is work. It's just, it's not on this super set, narrow schedule. You have to be willing to dodge and adapt and make things happen, which means sometimes we're recording podcasts at 10 p.m.
That's fine.
And it's fine.
And that's the part of it that I truly enjoy. I like that my days are never the fucking same, right?
Yes.
Now, sometimes they blow up by accident, but they're never the same, and oftentimes that's by intent, right? This is what I'm doing today, and tomorrow is something completely different, and the next day something completely different.
Yeah,
I can't. That's a big piece. I can't do the
people's crank though when they're entrepreneurs.
Yes,
is the fact
for
that
sure.
like every day isn't the same, and like I have, like, I'm sure you guys get it all the time too. Is like you're treating and people like, I don't know how you do this all day, and it's like. Okay.
I don't do this all day.
Yeah. First off, it's like 7 hours of my day, maybe. But it's something that like every single patient is different. Every single assessment is different. It's unreal. It's a fun, everlasting kind of experience with each individual. And then, I mean, the best part of my job is just watching people grow, right? It's like, okay, the next time they come in, their gait is better or something like that. And like for most people, that would fuel their fire to say, okay, if I'm still not fixing that original problem, in my mind, I should think, okay, what course can I take to further my career with helping these people, or specialize to help like a certain type of individual who is suffering with that joint or whichever, right?
That is such a good point that Mark and I'm going to add something that you always say together with what you just said. You always tell massage therapists, don't think of yourself as a massage therapist, right? Think of yourself as an organization.
Yep.
So when you're treating a client, you have to be fully present, and you have to be understanding who are your clients, right? So when you are this organization, not just a therapist, because a therapist will treat everybody. And I'm not saying, as a massage therapist who's an entrepreneur, you're going to turn away clients, but you're going to start to notice the type of people that you're treating, right? You know who your target market is, you know who your niche is. So then while you're in these treatments, you're not just getting through the treatment and on to the next one. You're really actually looking at what skills do I need? What do I need to improve my practice to make myself more successful? And that's the really successful therapists are the ones who are thinking, what do my clients need from me, and how do I get this to happen? Because if you're giving them what they need, if you understand the mind of your consumer, you're giving them what they need, you're going to be so successful and so busy because you're the person.
I'm even going to take it one step farther.
Yes.
I don't want to treat people that are not in my niche. I don't want to treat people that I don't want to treat, because the time that I spend treating that person is time away from getting the people that I really want to, or seeing the people that I really want to. I don't even want.
So let me ask you this then. So how do you know, for people who are looking into that or trying to better understand that for themselves, how do you know as an individual that this is your niche, or this is the type of clientele that you would want? Like, how'd you figure that out?
It starts off with self-awareness. You have to know what turns you on. You have to know yourself. You have to know your capabilities. You do a SWOT analysis, right? And anyone that's a coach, not a business coach or a business coach, or anyone that's an athletics coach, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Analyze your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats. And once you can come up with that, then things become very, very clear. And I think that's the first step. The first step of anyone that wants to take on their own projects is self-awareness. And we include that a lot in our business program. And it's really funny, because I think most people, when we start that whole piece, it's like an eye roll. I'll give you a perfect example of this. I'll give you the perfect example of this. A buddy of mine works for LifeMark. Cool. He does something he kind of manages clinics or something for LifeMark. And he's kind of does stuff with their massage therapy program. And LifeMark and PT Health, there's some sort of collaboration. I think one bought the other or something along those lines. And he's trying to do this whole education piece. At least this was during COVID. He was trying to do this whole education piece for all of the massage therapists. And he knows I do continuing education. So he's like, can you do something over Zoom for these people? And he's like, I really wanted to focus on making them more empowered to feel like they can run their business as an independent contractor. In other words, get them to make their fucking calls, get them to book people, that kind of shit, right? And I started off, I did a 1 hour talk with them, and it was all about self-awareness, that change your mindset, change your practice piece. And well, because they all work for other people, there was a good percentage of them that ate it up, a small good percentage, because I got a lot of great feedback and people finding me and sending me emails and messaging me on Facebook and stuff like that saying, I loved it, it was great, blah, blah. And then I asked him, because I knew it wouldn't go fully the way he wanted it to because of the environment and who I was speaking to, who the audience was. And I asked him about the feedback, and he's like, you know what? The people that enjoyed it really, really enjoyed it, but I had to answer so many questions as to, how does this relate to me as a massage therapist? How does this relate? I'm like, you were not meant to be an independent contractor. You're not meant
Lindsay's
to.
eyes just rolled so hard for anyone who's not here. But that's just it, is the people who didn't understand it are the people who, they're not maybe the people that going to be starting their own businesses. They're not the people that are going to be branching out. They want to be a massage therapist.
Or they think they are, but they want to skip the important shit.
Yeah.
They want to go straight to whatever it is they think they need to do.
Well, at the end of the day, like I say all the time I have tons of conversations with healthcare professionals, and I just think it's so interesting that everyone comes to the same conclusion, that there are people that graduate in their certifications with, you know, physio, chiro, massage, whichever. And they take that and they go work for someone, and that is totally fine because that's what they want to do, and that's kind of their mindset of where they want to be. And then you have people who experience that and say, okay, I know that I can do this myself. I just need to figure out how to start it. That's also good. But then you also have those people who want to completely detach themselves from the very beginning and say, okay, like I have been to clinics and I know how it works. I know, you know, the foundation blocks of how to build the investment part of you or how to promote on social media. And I think it's the most the biggest wake up call I find with people is that when they go to conferences and stuff like that and they take these courses on how to invest in themselves, I think it literally goes one or two ways. Like one way, they're a little naive and they just say, okay, you know, I'm still in the right place. Like I'm where I need to be, and that's fine.
Right.
But then there's other people who get a wake up call and they're like, okay, this is not me. Like I understand it that it's not like I want to be something completely different, and it just turns a whole notch up a level. And it's great to see because that's what I've seen at conferences, and like I'm interested in that virtual one because it's going to be so different because the connections that you build when you go to conferences as entrepreneurs is like my favorite part, because the conference is one thing, but the connections is a whole different thing. And I just think for the word entrepreneurs, it speaks a lot more volumes than I think people ever expect graduating college. You know what I mean? But
the networking thing is something that we really push hard as well. If you are somebody that wants to be an entrepreneur and you have all these ideas, and the worst thing you can do for yourself is think that you can do it all yourself. Like, yes, even if you're the captain of the ship, you're doing everything. But like Mark said, everybody needs a number one, but you also need to know people, because there's going to come a point where if you've done your SWOT analysis and you realize that you're not great at, let's say, social media marketing. Well,
Great.
if you have kept these contacts, if you've kept these contacts and you just know somebody who is great at social media marketing, reach out. Why are you going to do something half-assed that is not representative of your business, that's not showing the world what you really want to show because you don't know how, when there's somebody that does know how?
yeah, but do you feel like those people are that they want to get the recognition versus saying, you know, oh, this person secretly helped me in the background, and it's their kind of
that's
ship.
part of it. That's part of it.
I think that's sometimes the hard thing. It's the initiative for people.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people like asking. I mean, I know myself.
No.
Pride gets in my way sometimes. I like to figure shit out on my own, and I know Mark also likes to figure things out on his own.
Yeah, but
we enjoy networking. We enjoy meeting people. Like, look, the smallest little thing. We had a quick conversation off mic today with Lindsay, and we learned about a feature of a platform we've been using for months that we didn't know existed. Like, it's networking and conversations are so important. And when you're an entrepreneur, you know, it's not a waste of time in the middle of the day to go for coffee with someone. You know what I mean? It's like these little things,
Lattes
like
with Lindsay.
Exactly. These little things we do, like, for example, we finished recording yesterday. We went for 45 minutes to a patio. That wasn't 45 minutes of wasted time. That wasn't us slacking off and not working, because we are sitting there having a conversation with two other professionals who are also entrepreneurs. It's valuable.
You're being sponges. The sponge part of an entrepreneur is the best part. Like learning from everyone else about techniques, modalities, education, Zoom calls.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything. Like it's
all the things you can learn.
Yeah.
So yeah, as an entrepreneur, you've got to be adaptable. You've got to be okay with your days never exactly going to plan.
The deals happen on the golf course. They don't happen on the fucking conference call.
Amen.
Do you know what I mean?
Amen. I actually agree with that so much. It's crazy. And I think
you're the perfect example, because when you were telling me the last time you were here about like all the opportunities that you got with sport massage, that just came from doing shit and meeting people and knowing people.
Like the one that I tell people all the time, which I'm pretty sure I told on the last podcast, like it's honestly crazy. Like my biggest thing is I'm typically doing the same sports because I'm good at them. I know how to treat them. I know how to tape them and whatever. But because I was trying to get as many sports hours as possible to get my certified sports massage certification, I went and I got this email from them saying that they needed one therapist for artistic gymnastics, and I think it was in Markham or something. And I was like, okay, like I'm not honestly a big fan of gymnastics because I know too much about hypermobility, and watching it just freaks me out sometimes. I won't deny that. But I'm like I worked with this girl, and I should say woman, but she was wearing like this fluorescent orange shirt, and it said like Maccabi Canada, and I was like, what the heck is that? So I asked her about it, and she was just like, you don't know about the like major games? And I was like, well, I know about the Olympics. Like, sadly, I don't. Unfortunately, I didn't know about it at the time. Anyways, fast forward, she sent me her direct contact information. I got an interview with her, and I got the job for one of the head therapist roles for Maccabi Canada. I went to Israel for a month to work with Team Canada for like basketball, volleyball. What else was there? Baseball. Oh, I guess it was softball, but all different sports. And, to have that experience from literally volunteering, which another thing for entrepreneurs that for beginners, it's like the volunteering aspect is not an option. They just want to get paid fresh out of school, which is another whole conversation, because I honestly think if I didn't go to that artistic gymnastics experience, volunteer 4 of my hours, I wouldn't have been able to walk across that that platform in front of 40,000 like fans wearing a Team Canada shirt. You know what I mean? Like, that moment for me made me realize this is where I need to be, and this is why I want to get into sports. So, you have those, and it's wicked, but you got to be a sponge.
Of course. And I like how you brought that piece, like understanding where we're giving your time, we're giving your skills and your time up to somebody or an organization and not getting paid for it. Can't, like, strategically, it makes a big difference. I'll give you another example because of the conversation that Amanda and I had on the way to hang out and record yesterday. Amanda and I were talking in the car about the presenters that they normally have at the conference, and we were talking about some of the negative things that we hear about their conference, and we had a conversation with them about it. It's no secret that we said we were letting them know, and they already know this information, that sometimes the main criticisms are you have the same presenters, sometimes, and a lot of times they're presenting different material, but it's the same presenters, and there's a whole group of like evidence-based practitioners that feel like there's a lot of pseudoscience that happens at this particular conference, and they're pushing a lot of unfounded claims and techniques and blah 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 blah. And I was thinking, because I know someone who does sort of education, is an educator, hasn't really put together courses to deliver, but he's very, very vocal about like what he doesn't like about these things. And I was like, I'm always saying, like, you should just get in touch with them, and if you've got stuff to present, like if they're interested and you present it in a great way to them, I can't see how that would be a bad thing. And this is how you make connections, because when you see the big names of the educators and your name is right next to them, like, you're building recognition for yourself. So sometimes you need to make these voluntary no pay things, make them a little strategic for you to get where you want to go. You want to change the world and make it evidence-based massage therapy, and you want everyone to know who you are. Sometimes you gotta fucking eat the shit, right? It's like every fucking musician, you go through your manager and the record company screwing you before you make it big. It's like a rite of passage almost. So you can't make it big unless you get screwed.
But I think that's the thing at the end of the day, like volunteering, depending on what you really want to get into, but like in regards to the sports topic, there are so many sports teams that will take students because they're free and they can build their experience and their hours and stuff like that, which is awesome. But then when you get into the field, it's also awesome because, like, the Pan Am Games, did you guys do those at all?
Mark did.
Yeah, you did. And I thought that was back in 2015, but
and no one gets paid for that.
No one. But
Zero.
there's like
even the medical leads don't get paid.
Exactly.
Like we're sitting around doing the medical team, and you're there with an emergency room doctor who's volunteering his time to work the Pan Am Games. Nobody is getting paid.
You had such a great time doing that, and interestingly enough,
and
Mark reconnected with somebody that he had known from university. And now this guy is back doing courses with us again. Like, again,
sweet.
He goes and volunteers, and there's a connection made, right?
Boom.
I mean,
and that was a serious volunteer gig. Like I don't know what your shifts were like. My shifts were like 10 to 12 hour days. And I only did 2 weeks worth, and it was 2 weeks worth of 10 to 12 hour days, which means I wasn't working. I had to put my other stuff on hold
You blocked
to
off
have
all
this
your
experience.
clinics, like it was
blocked off the clinics. I was working at a school at that time. I'm like, guys, I'm gonna go do this. You got to find a substitute to teach the classes. And if they told me no, and your job is in jeopardy if you do this, I would have said, put my job in jeopardy. Like, to me, this is an important move.
See, that's why I love being an entrepreneur.
Because you want to take those risks.
I work at a clinic, but I also work for myself. But the beautiful thing is when you have those opportunities come, and the Pan Am Games are a month or 3 weeks, whatever, you can't, you don't have to get on your phone and mentally prep and say, okay, I have to write this email to say that I need this much time off. It's like, no, I don't need that, because I'm my own boss and I can figure it out. Because the thing that I always find funny is at the end of the day, you don't get paid if if you take time off with someone else or if you work for yourself. So like with the Pan Am Games, I think I only worked, I shouldn't say only, but I think I worked maybe 14 days. And they were crazy hours, but like there were some dope people I met. Like I met naturopaths, and I didn't even, at the time, I had no idea what naturopaths were.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of confusion with that. Now I have a lot of clarification, but it's just sometimes taking that time, what you may think as quote unquote like hours for a job, you actually sit down with other healthcare professionals and watch them, like I watched a woman tape a hip. I can't say that I have ever seen a hip tape like that ever in my life. And it was an athletic therapist. And I was like, explain to me your thoughts with what just happened. And they just opened my mind to like how it works. And now like when I think about the hip, that's something that comes in the back of my mind because of that connection or that time spent away from just physically treating and getting more education on it. Like at the end of the day, I truly believe that education is power, regardless of where you get it from. If it's from a book, a person, like as of course, as long as it's factual, but I think the foundation of an entrepreneur is literally just being a sponge and, allowing your platform to be heard in whatever way you need to motivate others for their future as well.
And being able to delay gratification and understanding what's valuable. So for example, I think a lot of people consider the only value in something money.
Yes.
Time is valuable. Education is valuable. Connections are valuable. So as I said, yesterday taking 45 minutes to sit on a patio, I can tell you that a lot of people might have been like, with the amount of work you guys have and how busy you are, like why would you waste 45 minutes?
It wasn't even
It was
that.
not a waste of time.
And it wasn't even just the 45 minutes. Like we drove an hour and a half to get there. Like it was a day of like not doing stuff.
Yeah.
We took the day of not having, income come in on stuff to
that
go
was Hamilton, right? You were saying? Yeah, that is a
to go make connections and do stuff that'll put us in a better place down the road.
Yeah. And like you said, with the delaying gratification, like there's sometimes where, my clients are super awesome and they're understanding and they know that, my practice is a fraction of my business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they know that I only have certain days and times where I can treat, and I mean, they're really great, but there's times where I have to say, like I'm not seeing clients for the next 3 days. Obviously, if it's an emergency, get in touch with me and I'll see what I can do, but I'm not seeing clients for the next 3 days. And I will purposely put off making money for 3 days if there's something that has to be done that's going to further our business. So, we have to shoot video, or we've got podcasts to record, or we've got this networking thing to do. So yeah, there's going to be times where I can make $500 right now, or I can make $0, but it's all for the greater good of the business, right?
Yep.
So I think delaying gratification is really hard for a lot of people, because a lot of people would be like, if I don't work this day, like that's $700 I'm going to give away. If you're saying you do 7 hands-on hours a day, well, are you prepared to say, I'm not going to make $700 today because I'm going to go do Pan Am Games? I know you are.
Yep.
But it's not going to be everybody that's going to be comfortable with that.
Well, I think the greatest question that I get from clients and friends and stuff, they say, when people want to get to know you as a therapist, right? They say, you are your career. And I have such a hard time. I don't know if you guys have a hard time with that statement, but people have always told me like, you are your career. And I think the thing that I always find a little confusing with that comment is the fact that my skill set is very much a good contribution to who I am, but that doesn't mean that my characteristics are a massage therapist. Like, I don't know if you've experienced that.
I think that statement more means that that what you do for work is a large part of your identity, right? Like that, it's a big part of who you are, right? So, for example, my father was a blue collar dude who did refrigeration, heating, and cooling. Like that wasn't part of his identity. That's just the thing he fucking did to make money to pay for the house. You know what I mean? Versus what we do here, like it's very, very much a part of our identity. Con Ed Institute is built right into our identity. Two massage therapists and microphone is part of our identity. We don't separate those.
Well, and that's actually, it's funny because we keep going back to, this conversation we had yesterday, but this was a good day for you to come in because we've literally been having these conversations. And I mean, for anyone listening, Lindsay will tell you, I don't even know what we were talking about today. her name appeared in my calendar and I showed up here.
I just came for a chat.
I just showed up. But last night I said something to Mark and I was reminiscing about something. And I'm like, don't you remember? Then you had to get up and go to work. And he kind of giggled and he's like, I always find it funny when you say go to work because I don't feel like I go to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's part of what we do every day, right?
Exactly.
He gets up, he's like, okay, what have I got today? Oh, I'm going to record this podcast. Oh, I've got this Zoom call. Okay, I'm going to do some course content. Okay, maybe, I'll go do some social media marketing, but
I might treat a couple people.
yeah, you walked in and he was just finishing with a client, right? Like our days, like we said at the beginning, when you're an entrepreneur, no 2 days look the same. Everything.
And it's not for everybody.
No, it's not for everybody because
some people need that.
Some people need like the routine. And it's funny because I am a routine scheduled person. It doesn't mean if you're a very routine and scheduled person that this doesn't work for you. It's just the way that I function in this whole thing is I've got my Google Calendar, which is like my Bible. It tells me where I have to be. Like I said, Lindsay, 1:30. Okay, cool. At the office. I'll be there. And I'm here.
Yep.
But I make plans. So, for example, this morning, I was going through what things need to be done. Okay, we've got this TMJ course coming up this weekend. We've told all the participants, bring your face shields. I'm like, do I trust they're all going to do that? No offense, guys. I don't trust you're all going to remember your face shields. So I said, okay, I've got 2 hours right now. We need file folders for the office. We need face shields. We need some soap. Okay, I'm going to go to this store and then I'm going to go here. Like, I still am scheduled and, things are still done in a very orderly fashion. Like yesterday at 9 o'clock in the morning, Mark walks into our kitchen. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, making dinner. He's like, it's 9 a.m. I'm like, I know, but look at the calendar. I won't be here at dinner prep time.
Yes.
I'm doing it now. But
I thought you were going to say, look at the calendar. It's my dinner time. Right
it's
now.
my dinner time.
My new dinner time listed on the calendar.
According to my calendar. So yes, I am very scheduled. And that's why I said, I think for entrepreneurs, time management's a huge thing. Mark's a little more like fly off the cuff in the way he works because he's more the creative side, right? He does the course content.
Well,
he's the guy who edits the podcast. He comes up with a lot of the content. So I feel like your creative mind, you need to be able to just do things when you're in the mood to do them. And that's fine.
But I'm also with the way I yes, I need to be in the mood to do something.
But you still set deadlines.
But yes, I set deadlines. But I also don't mind waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and starting work. I also don't mind being in this office and I look over and it's 12:30 a.m. just because there's something that I'm still working on that was on my schedule to have finished the next day. So, I'm a little less about this is what I'm going to do in this hour of this time, but I do have my deadlines and I don't mind working around the clock. So it works for me.
The modes
very
that
well
we work are very different. Like for example, I don't mind changing hats multiple times a day.
I don't like
that stresses him out. So like I know when I've got to be Amanda the therapist, Amanda the podcaster, Amanda the mom. Like I can be 7 different people in a day. Mark likes to have his days set where he's got
Max
sort of a different
Max 2 people.
Yeah, a different kind of flow.
Mark and Mark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it all ends up working out. You find the way that works for you. And yes, our days
But you only find the way it works for you if you understand who you are and how you operate.
Exactly.
If you can become self-aware. If you can't become self-aware, then you end up just listening to what everyone says for you to do and you try it and it doesn't work.
And you think you have to do that. Like I said, I need to be scheduled. I need to know, but between this time and this time, this is what I'm doing. This time and this time, this is what I'm doing.
Same.
That works out best for me. For Mark, that doesn't work out best. When I do schedule things for him like that, it ends up blowing up in my face because then everything goes wrong and I get the look of death like you did this to me.
But I love that though, because if you visually think about you two, is the fact that you both have different mindsets of how to get your objective done. But I think that just truly shows how driven both of you are regardless of what you are trying to accomplish, whether you are just trying to be a mom in that moment or a massage therapist or the podcaster in the moment of time. But you were also driven to know, okay, this is my to-do list, regardless if it's in an agenda, a cell phone, on an email, whatever. You have that drive in your brain to say, I am going to kill this and I'm going to do it right now.
And I'm going to get all the shit done.
Yes.
For me, as long as, and I know Mark's the same way, regardless of how we got there, for me, at the end of the day, if I can say I got all the shit done, then I'm happy.
So that's all that matters.
But that's why you sleep so good at night. That's why it is.
I sleep very well at night because I get the shit done.
Yes. Honestly, before this podcast started, we were having a conversation about sleep, and
she goes to bed at 10:30 p.m.
You
and I aren't even dreaming about bed yet.
We did that for a little while, and that was a nice place to be.
We did for a few, but we weren't in like elbow deep into our business the way we are now.
No, at that point though, we were elbow deep into just making sure our kids were getting sleep. So
we
were putting them to bed at a certain time, and
Yeah.
therefore we would KO at a certain time, and then we'd be up bright and early.
We'd be up bright and early.
When they were bright and early.
Yeah,
but
we did that.
we don't have to do that anymore. They're a little older. So
See, I don't have kids, so I don't have that problem right
Yeah.
now. Yeah. But I know, honestly, I was telling her, I was like, by 10, 12, my boyfriend knows, I'm just like, all right, I'm getting into my zone of just calming down. But I find sometimes, because during COVID and all that kind of stuff, it was so different because mentally, I prep, okay, got to go to bed at this time because I like to train in the morning and work out and do my thing. And I have the morning to do all my to-do lists because at nighttime, that's when I work.
Yep.
So it's so interesting because then when COVID came along, it was like all your entrepreneur brain just kind of went on a pause because it's like, okay, financials have shifted. Okay, so then I have to do stuff online or promote some other way, or how can I get income? And your brain just explodes. So there were nights where I'd stay up super late and I'm like, this is so different. When I was 19 or 20, you go clubbing and you stay out till 4 a.m. and eat hot dogs and do dumb things. But now it's you're a hard worker.
I love that she said eat hot dogs. You're yeah, we did that.
That's what happens.
Yes. If someone honestly tells me that they didn't get street meat when they used to go out, they're lying to themselves. They're lying to themselves.
Even you vegetarians.
Yeah, I was going to say, even the vegans who didn't go vegan yet. So, but I just think COVID was such an interesting time for entrepreneurs because that's when I was doing my first launch for Lattes with Lindsay, it was amazing because every single healthcare professional was just okay, what can we do? What can we learn about? Because you go through the first couple weeks, you sleep in, you eat food when you want, you do dumb things watch Netflix for 9 hours, but then it gets old.
You buy boxed wine.
Yeah. Amen. Boxed.
I
love boxed wine still. I don't care if it's COVID or not, but and it's just all in all, I think at the end of the day, I think it's just so fun to talk to other people about where they've really come and where their plateaus went during their career. But have you guys ever experienced a true plateau, or you were trying to debate okay, I'm a massage therapist, but what's what took you to your next step as a therapist to say, okay, I want to help people or educate people or, start this podcast? What was it for you guys?
Our big moves all came not from any of our doing, but getting punched in the face. Our big moves came because stuff that happened, whether it was the CMTO that took away the CEU cycle and changed the quality assurance program, and we had a business model based on that. Right. So that was a factor that was beyond our control that just really punched us in the face.
Or, our landlord deciding to up our rent 200%, or COVID.
Yeah.
It's basically external factors that forced us to get creative. And because we had two options,
we make
right?
better moves.
Option number 1, curl up in the fetal position and cry. Option number 2, shift and adapt. And each time we would just stare at each other and we're
quick.
like, okay, we got to make a move and we got to make it now. And like Mark, he said at the beginning, just do it, right?
Yeah. We don't stick around.
We could sit and debate all day long, but we just have to do
But
something.
to me,
so we
there's
would just start doing
to
things.
me, there's no fucking debate. We're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and the only solution is get out. So what am I
Amen.
going to do? Sit around thinking about 18,000 different ways that I could possibly get out,
Yep.
or picking 3 of them and starting one of them, and let's see what happens. And if that fucking fails, go to the next one on the list. And if that fucking fails, go to the next one. Like, why am I going to sit around and debate on this so
See,
much? I got to
that's-
do something. Let me
see,
just fucking do it.
I
Right?
love this conversation because honestly, like sometimes I think
it all
if I'm just the only entrepreneur that is
No.
just like not okay with just what's happening right now, like I'm just like as soon as I finished my like sports nutrition thing, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Like, and it's crazy because that's the biggest thing. So like when you get those wake up calls in your career, you know, with the CEO change, which was a huge loop, I think, for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, you take that and you say, okay, like you do not have time to process what just happened because now you need to be 1,000% more driven to say, what can I do next
Exactly.
to keep going? Right.
Well, and that's the thing is we talked about this yesterday as well with Scott and Monica. When we found out about the CEU values disappearing, it was confusing for a lot of therapists, but we took that and we said, okay, how can we make a positive spin on this? Because realistically, like we could have spiraled negatively, but we're like, okay, realistically, RMTs are still going to need continuing education. Quality assurance is still going to exist. We're not going to be suddenly the only regulated healthcare professionals that don't need education. And it's ridiculous for RMTs to think that they don't need it. So we decided to take it.
They
Honestly.
do. They haven't read the RHPA ever.
Right. So we're like, okay, let's put a positive spin on this and show RMTs how this is going to work in our favor. So I literally, with either the same day or the next day, we put out a blog post that I had written about like how great this can be for our profession. You now get to actually do that self-awareness piece, figure out who you are as a therapist, what courses you need. And you know how you said you have people who ask you, how do you decide what courses to take? Well, this is the opportunity because now instead of just collecting numbers, you can actually look at what's out there, what education exists, what providers there are, and pick and choose what makes sense for your practice, what you're interested in, where your passions are. So we decided, like, let's make a really positive spin on this and look at all the courses we have. We got something for everybody. So now you can start taking things because it's really what you want to take,
Yeah.
not because it's worth 10 CEUs and it's a day and a half,
That's,
right?
See, that's just inspiring though, because like for everyone who's listening, like they can take that and say, you know what, that's inspiring to me to understand that I need to grow as a therapist. Like I could just, and there are people who have literally just graduated and said, okay, massage therapy is what I need and that's it. And that's fine. But then there's also people that, you know, like you said, you want to find that special feature of yourself, saying that I know how to fix a hip, I know how to tape a hip, you know, or I know how to do these certain modalities that will release the T-spine and C-spine immediately. So I think it's beautiful when things happen like that, where you get a wake-up call because you're just in a space where you're too comfortable. And
Absolutely. And the only time that you can grow is when you're pushed out of your comfort zone. And I mean, we've been fucking shoved. Like we weren't pushed. We were like Indiana Jones in the boulder. Like fuck. Like we got really really brutally beaten up a few times.
We're also okay with that.
But that's the thing is,
look at where you are now, though. That's the
exactly.
best part.
It has literally like thrown us, like catapulted us forward because we were forced to. Like I've said this on numerous times where people have asked us, why'd you guys start the podcast? It was something that Mark really had an interest in, and he always likes to say he's the idea guy. He's not just the idea guy, he is the execution guy, but a big part of it is me being on board with it. You know what I mean? Like early in our relationship, I remember him saying to me, and I really I held on to this because I was like, oh, that's so nice that you think that. But he said, you're one of the first people I've ever been with that supports my crazy ideas, and you help me figure out how to do them.
I've broken up with people. I've broken up with very long-standing good relationships because I did not get the support on some of these entrepreneurial crazy ideas. And I'm like, I can't be with somebody who doesn't support this shit because this is what I do. You know what I mean?
and so that was, you know, that's part of why we work well together, because on one hand, he's definitely a bigger risk taker than I am. So he'll come to me with the idea, And I don't shut it down. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Let's talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he came to me with the podcast idea, I was never against it. I didn't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was not, I hadn't listened to podcasts. I was like, okay, tell me why. Where is this going? Why are we doing this? Like I kind of interested, but also, so the talks were going really slow with the podcast idea because I wasn't really on board. And then that happened in 2018. It was like, okay, there's no more CEUs. And Mark said, this is why we need the podcast.
Amen.
This will keep us relevant. We can deliver some, tidbits and some free education and, make sure that people know who we are and keep us relevant, add value. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. I like this idea. And I said, but why not video? Everyone's doing video. He's like, you just answered the question. Everyone's doing video. I'm like, oh, you smart bastard. Okay.
That's what I love though. Cause I've been on your podcast. So I love the fact that you guys use this platform for education purposes. And I think that's what motivate people like myself who launched Lattes with Lindsay, because that's the overall goal. Like my first season was very much education on how to help the public understand where to go and who to go to for their injuries. I think the most common thing, which I'm sure you guys experience too, is the fact that people come to you and say like, okay, well, this is wrong, and this is wrong, but why can't you fix all of these things? And it's like, well, I can't realign your spine. I can't, traction different things. I can't release your visceral system. Like there's so many things that all health care professionals specialize in. And having that platform to educate people on, okay, well, now I know what acupuncture does, and it's not as scary as I think it is. So having that platform for education, amazing. The second thing is that the people that you bring on the podcast, like myself, is amazing, because then you can also educate people on, this topic exactly as entrepreneurs and how to start and what can fuel the fire. But also you need to have normal declines in something, because then it'll fuel you to push yourself further into other education platforms or meet different people. Like for you guys, the breakups, perfect, because you met this one. So it's a win-win. And I think sometimes people always view events happening in their life as a negative, and they just soak that in for long periods of time. But I think what people have a hard time with is they need to understand why that happened in their life, switch it and say, okay, this is what it's teaching me, and then
even if you don't understand why, I think it's getting to this point faster of accepting the reality. This happened, so I can shoulda, woulda, coulda, what, maybe I could. It doesn't matter. It's too late. This is where we are. What do I have to work with?
See, you do that really well. I don't do that well. I will wallow in something. I don't wallow in it for long, but I wallow in it, and then I make sure, I say to myself over and over, I'm never fucking doing that. I always.
You don't just say it to yourself. You say it out loud.
I say it out loud, because Amanda's always like, when I'm angry in these moments, I'm like, I'm angry, but I'm okay with being angry, because I enjoy being angry, because it's not just me being angry. I'm teaching myself something in this moment, and what I'm teaching myself is, in this particular thing, I'm never gonna fucking do this type of thing ever again. I've learned something, but I couldn't learn that unless I wallowed in that. That's just me.
But that's a healthy emotion, though. I think I even for myself, I'm learning that every emotion has a reason for it, right? And I think in a moment of anger or disappointment or change, that really does show your personality and how you control your overall situation. Because people who say I'm always crying, or, stop, you're going to make me cry. And they instantly start crying. It's because that's how their emotional response is. And it's not a bad thing. I think the thing is that is tough, is the fact that a lot of people like to post how they feel everywhere. And I think that is okay, because maybe that's their way of healing. But it's also tricky, because that may bite you in the butt later, with the RMTO thing. I don't personally follow it. I honestly don't even have my apps on my phone, because there's so many notifications every day. But, when you get sucked in sometimes with those groups, it's really hard, because you have people going on rants. And I have friends who work at Massage Addict. It's phenomenal. They get treated great. And it's hard, because then you get people on there and they write these massive paragraphs. And halfway through, I'm like, all right, I don't know if I can read this whole thing, but they probably have a good opinion on whatever they're feeling. But it's hard because then it's like, I don't know if I'm going to take this with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? So
I think you have to take everything on social media with a grain of salt, because you have to remember social media isn't actually real life. I mean, yes, we discuss real life things and there's real people and whatever, but if you actually just don't have the apps on your phone and you put down Facebook and you're away from it and you actually are just living life and talking to people in real time, you realize the discussions that happen on Facebook and the discussions that happen in real life are actually drastically different.
Well, people
and
are
it can help
mean.
your mental health a little bit to take breaks from that.
No, I can't go on social media all the time. There's some dark places people go and say.
Well, I'm actually really a non-emotional person, which it sounds a little bit like I'm
No, I want to be more like
myself.
you. I just thought that was fucking fabulous. How you can have shit happen to you, and you're like, you know what? I can either fucking cry about it, or I can recognize this did happen, and I want to make a change. So I'm going to decide I'm just going to make that change.
That's a solid trait.
But see,
I know.
I'm not saying I'm not saying it's not
it's
not a good trait. What I'm saying is it sounds contradictory, because on one hand, I'm actually very empathetic, and like, I trust me, I can feel sad. I can be. There's sometimes where Mark will say to me, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I feel sad." He goes, "Why?" I'm like, "I'm feeling sad," and like I'll allow myself to feel sad. But I mean, when it comes to, I'm very logical in the way I think. Like it's, even when it's something that is an emotional thing, something happens, and I will literally stop and think like, okay, realistically, there's nothing I can fucking do about this. This is the situation as it is. So where is worrying, crying, stress? Where is that getting me at this moment?
Yep.
So then my planning comes in and like, okay, where do I need to go? What do I need to do? And I also have the ability, and this is, sometimes a friction between him and I have the ability to put something on pause for a minute when I have to deal with other aspects of my life. So, when he's talking about the wallowing, when something really catastrophic happens, I can be like, okay, this is where we are. Let's regroup in 6 hours. I got to go to a soccer game. I got to do this. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, how do you do? And I was like, because my entire life doesn't stop. I still need to keep living. I still need to keep moving forward. I still need to keep doing stuff. We'll get this taken care of. But yeah, I mean, I think you do, as you said, you have to have that moment to sit and be angry and teach yourself, I'm never fucking, how often I hear, I'm never fucking doing that again.
But that, you know what though? But that's just the way the cookie crumbles for some people. And that's, man, I have people who, like, I have clients and I laugh internally, of course, but like I have clients that they ask me for a separate pillow. And they said, I need you to do what you want to do, like with treatment wise and stuff like that. But I need a pillow to scream in because it's going to hurt. And I'm like, well, my goal is not to destroy you. Like, that's obviously not my goal. But
it's not a torture chamber.
Yeah, like, but it's funny just because people handle pain or situations in life so differently, right? And I think one of the things that I always find interesting is when you get into a profession and you're in a group of healthcare professionals and you have so many opinions. Like, have you guys ever had a situation where if I'm taping the ankle, towards the left, and then someone comes in and says that you should tape the ankle to the right? Like, do you have a situation where you've had to control your emotions and understand that everyone has a different way of doing things? Like, for example, when you guys have your courses, I'm sure you have people saying, well, that's not the right way to do it, or whatever.
That's
like,
not how I learned it.
Exactly.
So, okay, like for example, in the courses, this is one of the things that we highlight a lot in the courses. And I always say it like right at the beginning of a course. Like, this is not me standing in front of the classroom, waving my finger at you saying, this is how you need to do things. This is a moment where we're all going to share together. And if you have something to say, first of all, there's no dumb thing that can be said in these walls. So say anything you want at any moment in time. Everyone's got tons of value they can bring to this group. And it's not about you learning from me. It's about us, me included, learning from each other. I'm just kind of facilitating what's going on here. There's a group.
Mark's
there's a
very
group
engaging as an instructor. And so I don't think he ever comes into really conflict situations, because there is sort of a mutual respect. People appreciate
everyone's
people appreciate, and it's part. I mean, it's part of our mission statement, right? Is we eliminate hierarchy, right? So when people come to take a course here, it is very laid back. There might be some F-bombs thrown around. We try not to, but it
you guys
might
have
just happen.
F-bombs? What?
Might just happen.
Who knows?
But I mean, I think people appreciate your style of teaching because you're not wagging your finger at people. It's an open discussion, and sometimes somebody might say, "Oh, okay, well, I learned this." You're like, "That's fabulous,"
cool.
And then
Let's
show us, and like let's incorporate
So
that.
like that's a perfect example. Like in our joint mobilizations course. So there are definitely joint mobs that we are showing that massage therapists were probably not formally taught this, but then there's a whole bunch of that they were formally taught, and it's like, okay, we all do this cervical spine distraction. Why don't we go around the room and show us like
how
the
do
different
you do
things
it?
you do it?
Yeah.
And if there's anything that you as a participant are seeing that you haven't done, give it a try. And then if there's anything that you guys are showing and I've got something that you haven't shown yet, then that's when I'll lay it out.
But that's dope though, because if you view that as a personality trait, you're super approachable during the whole course, which is not like, I've definitely been to courses where the hierarchy is super high.
Yeah.
Like
we're not gurus,
you know what I mean?
And I don't like that idea of being like this is the way things are supposed to be, because massage therapists, I mean, just the fact that it's called a practice. You can always learn something. You're practicing things. Let's play around with it. There's so many different techniques. There's so many different ideas.
Exactly.
So if somebody is going to show me something that maybe I didn't know, I used to teach the chair massage course here. I say used to because we've sort of taken it off the calendar for the time being, just to get some of our more popular courses, but the chair massage
Stuff
course,
that's a little bit more demand.
yes, the chair massage course was developed because somebody asked us, like I don't know how to take a treatment and do it on the chair, and I know
that was interesting actually. Someone's like, I have a chair massage gig that I scored. I've never done chair massage,
and I don't know how.
Do you guys have a course on it? I'm like, no, but if you want, we can make one for you.
That's brilliant.
Well, that's exactly what happened. So then Mark said to me, he's like, I don't have interest in this. And I used to get a lot of corporate gigs.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of companies in the GTA that
they
would hire
love
me
that
for,
stuff.
yeah.
Quick
So
little
I used to do that all
15-minuters.
the time. So my knowledge came from practice. It's not like I took any specific course. It was just, I've been doing chair massage as a part of my practice since the very beginning. So I said, okay, I can do this. Every single time I taught that course, it was completely different because I would have a completely different group of therapists, and it was, what do you guys want to learn? How? And we would basically just throw around ideas and techniques and like, okay, this is a possibility, and you can have the person sit like this, and you could do this mob and this, and every time we did it, it wasn't like I went through a series of techniques or a routine. You know what I mean? It was just, let's work with, let's throw out some ideas. What's the type of client you might have, and what do we want to learn?
Yeah.
And we would just treat. And at the end of the weekend, everybody would walk away like, I really learned a lot. And the funny thing was,
I'm telling you, the
Yeah.
sponge effect.
but the best part of that course was, I would always say to Mark, I don't feel like I actually taught anything. But everybody was like, I learned so much from you. Thank you.
No, picking other people's brains is amazing. Like you can create the foundation of a course, right? And then, you have people who come in the course and say like, oh, well, can I add something to that technique? Or, like I have a quick draping technique that is the same as this, but you can do a little bit faster or whatever. But it goes back to the original statement, like having connections inside your class. Like you may have people in your class that be like, oh, like I would love to have them on my podcast, and then boom, there's another person.
We've had
right?
people in class that, like, Mark will text me when they're on a break, and he'd be like, this woman's really interesting. I'm like, cool. And then he'll say to her, like, you want to hang back? And I will quickly scramble, find a babysitter, and I'm here at the end of the class.
Yeah.
It has happened.
But that's okay. That is exactly why the definition of entrepreneurship is like, there is none, because it's just there's so many opportunities in all different angles that I truly cannot ever describe to someone what an entrepreneur's description is, because it's just endless.
It is endless. But I think we've brought up some really good points, things of being open-minded, being adaptable, recognizing opportunities for what they are, not always looking at, well, where is this getting me right now?
Yep.
Maybe it isn't, maybe that, going for coffee or going for a latte with Lindsay isn't necessarily giving you immediate gratification. It's not getting you somewhere now, but maybe in 2.5 years from now, you need somebody who knows how to tape a hip in a really fucking creative way. And you're like, wait, I know this chick, Lindsay, who I've had a latte with. There's value in almost anything when it comes to building connections and networking and, like you said, and just learning things. And you don't necessarily have to apply it right away, but having things in your back pocket. Mark and I always joke about the fact that we've got every guy in our back pocket. We've got good
Barney
connections
Stinson.
who are, we've got lawyers, we've got real estate
Got
agents, we've got people who can build things, we've got contractors, we've got kitchen guys and bathroom guys.
Every massage therapist does.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
your
low-key, we actually do.
clients,
Yes.
yeah.
Every massage therapist
Oh, yes.
does.
And I love the before and after pictures they always love to show you at the end of the treatments. They're like, look at what I did. I rent out a bathroom or I rent out a kitchen. I'm like, ooh, good to know.
Yeah.
Like,
It's always good to know people. And, there's never, like I said at the beginning, I don't feel like anything's really a waste of time. I don't really believe in that waste of time, even like just that phrase alone. And this is, again, sometimes where Mark and I disagree a little bit, because there's some days where, you just don't feel yourself. You're really off. Like everything is just not working out. Your computer's not working. This document you thought you saved, you didn't, like just a bunch of shit. And there's sometimes where I say to Mark, like, you might be getting the message that maybe you need to just go for a ride today. Maybe you need to take a few hours and chill. Maybe you need to watch a movie. Like maybe this is the moment you just need to do something for yourself. And he's like, but I got so much work to do. And I'm like, yeah, how's that working out for you? Like,
that's why I loved COVID, honestly, because I think for COVID, like everyone was just like, oh, this is time to chill. Like, because, everyone was go, 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 or they always had the quote that I'm too busy. I'm busy. Oh, I can't come because I'm busy, or
it's
whatever.
It's the busy contest, because if you're not busy, then you're wasting your time, right?
Exactly. But I agree with you. Like, heck, the other day I have a stupid to-do list right now, and I'm trying to create different programs and all that stuff. And I literally said, you know what? I'm going to make a latte. And I sat down and watched The Gentleman on Netflix, and I enjoyed every moment of it. And then I went to work, and it was perfect. It was exactly what I needed. And sometimes you really do need that time and understand your body, because that's another thing with being an entrepreneur. You can be a go-go gadget 24/7, but your body at some point is going to say, hey, I love what you're doing here and you are growing, but your body's saying we need a little bit of downtime.
Well, you also can't possibly get everything done if you've run yourself into the ground, right? You need to recharge. And
it's all about balance.
Yeah. See there, but that's, that's the balance. And it comes from, as Mark said, knowing yourself and knowing, like, he's a workhorse. And I know that most of the time, even if he is, quote, angry or frustrated or tired, I know that really deep down, I'm like, no, he's doing what he wants to be doing. And I'll just let him be.
And a big part of it is this, for me, I get such satisfaction out of checking off, like taking that thing off the to-do list.
I
like,
love highlighters.
you don't understand. That's that moment. For me, it's not even a highlight. For me, it's like, I'm going to scratch the fuck out of it, and then I'm going to take the sheet of paper and crumple it up.
I was going to say, you crumple up the paper, you throw it.
But I've been doing that since I was in university. Like, this is how I would study for my exams. And it used to piss people off, because I would like really lay out an awesome study plan where I would study weeks before a test. And then I would always have like 3 days before the test, I am not touching this. Like, I'm done studying well before. So 3 days before the test, I don't even need to read anything.
Nice.
But I just walk around with my notes just for the fuck of it. And then, symbolic to me, as I'm walking into the exam, I tear up my notes and I drop them in the waste paper basket as I'm walking into the exam.
That's great.
Right? And everyone around me is always like, well, you're such an asshole, because they're still reading their notes right into the last moment.
You also are kind of an asshole.
But it's more for me. It's that satisfaction of, like, you know what? This is off my to-do list. Tear. This is permanent. Boom.
Yeah. Once you kind of find what works for you with that, it's dope, because, I think that's really good that you study before tests, because some people are very last minute, and that's totally fine too. But it's that confirmation that you achieved something, and regardless of how you check mark it, highlight it, rip it up, tear it up, whatever the way you want to do it, it's still such a satisfying feeling. And every day that you wake up and you start your job, it just makes me understand why I love being an entrepreneur.
It's like, have you ever seen Pumping Iron? There's a scene when Arnold's talking about the sensation he gets at the gym. He's like, when I get that pump, it's like I'm coming. You don't understand. I come several times a day because I'm at the gym and I'm always getting my pump. Right?
That's
It's that same sensation that I finish this fucking task. It's like boom.
I know.
I awesomed all over
And
this
you know
room.
what? And you know what? And
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
need to understand it. And Lindsay doesn't need to understand it. And I don't need to understand Lindsay's process.
Yes.
Because she said the magical words. Like when you're an entrepreneur, it's just, you got to find the flow that works for you. So even, this is, sorry, Mark. I love telling these stories that he probably wouldn't tell people, the behind the scenes stuff. We get home from Hamilton yesterday. So now we've got a pile up of DMs
Yep.
on our
Oh,
social
I'm just
platforms.
kidding.
We've got a pile up of emails. We've got, just stuff that we didn't get to because we were in the process of doing something
You were
else.
having fun.
Because we were on a patio.
We were
learning
wasting our
stuff.
time.
Yeah.
But the point is, when I'm doing
Quote,
something,
unquote.
I like to be doing it. Like I wouldn't have wanted to be sitting on the patio with Scott and Monica and be distracted and answering the DMs. I'm like, these people can wait a couple hours. I'll get back to them. And so we get home and Mark's got both of our kids on our bed and he gave them his iPad to watch some cartoons on YouTube, and he's got the laptop open, but he's kneeling on the floor. He's sort of like half leaning over the bed, kneeling on the floor. And I know why he's doing that, because he hasn't changed his pants yet. We call it COVID clothes. Like when we come home, we change completely out of COVID clothes and get into house clothes. So he's still in COVID clothes, so he doesn't want to get on the bed. So he's kneeling on the floor and he's on his laptop, and the girls are watching YouTube. And I look at him and he looks uncomfortable. I'm like, what's wrong with you? He's like, I have to pee. I'm like, then go pee. He's like, you don't understand. I'm so close to being done. I'm like, go pee.
My gosh. Honestly, see, Mark, I feel like that's why we sometimes connect,
that's
because
right.
I am exactly like that sometimes. Like during a workout, if I'm training someone and I have to pee and there's 8 minutes left technically of their workout, I'm like, all right,
You're like, I can hold it for 8
we
minutes.
are Kegeling this for like 8 minutes. Like we are gonna get through this. But this has been dope, guys. Thank
Yeah,
you.
for sure.
Well, thank
This
you
has
for
I
been
love it,
good.
here
man.
again.
So many things, man. Entrepreneurs, I'll do it in another couple pieces. Speed on the day-to-day. I'm a fan. Maybe it's not everyone's game, but I'm a fan of getting things done. Like, you got something on your plate, you got something on your to-do list, get it
Yes.
done.
Amen.
Because the faster you can work the day-to-day, you can get more shit done. Like, the long game, take your time, right? Where your long-term plan is going to go, but the day-to-day tasks, execute
Answer
those
your
quick.
emails in a timely fashion. Return your
Yes.
phone calls. Listen to
Yes.
your voicemails. Like these things that don't take up a lot of time. Why are you putting it on a to-do list? That
Execute
is a
quick.
waste of fucking
Execute
time.
quick.
But learn how to not stress yourself out because you have the to-do list either. That's
Yeah.
the trick. You got to manage your time to say, okay, I will get to these, but I'm not going to kill myself
for
trying
sure.
to get all these done.
Prioritize.
And if you
Prioritize.
want something, you fucking do everything fucking possible to make it happen, right? Guess what? You want to I don't know, be the massage therapist for the Toronto Raptors. You fucking get on
Build
your,
those connections.
You get on your
Yes.
fucking Twitter and you start DMing every fucking player. You get on their Instagram every fucking player. Any person you know in the organization. You're sending out multiple emails per week. Like you've just you do it. You just be fucking persistent. Don't yeah, I want to be the massage therapist for the Raptors. Did you send any messages to anyone today? Yeah, I sent
One
3.
person.
I sent 3. Did anyone respond? No. Are you stopping there? I think I'm done for. No, you're not done.
No.
You don't want it fucking bad enough.
Well, and that's the thing that I always tell my students, which I'm sure you guys tell people who are taking your courses too, is that you have to start sometimes from the bottom. You have to build your connections. You have to earn your respect within the field. And once you have that, you will have people help you get to the top. Like I've
sure.
had students be like, how do I get to the Olympics? I'm like, volunteering. What? Like, you have to do certain things to accept that that's where your progression is going to come from. But if you are motivated enough and driven enough to work hard,
Exactly.
you will get to where you want to be.
Exactly.
100%.
See,
agree.
if I heard that and that was my gig, I'd be right there. As soon as you finished, I'd be on my fucking computer Googling every fucking volunteer opportunity possible. And then I would give myself a to-do list that says, by the end of today, I'm sending out 25 fucking emails to 25 different organizations or teams or whatever to volunteer. And if I don't get follow-ups, then I'm emailing back in 2 days. I'm
Anything.
obtaining,
literally anything.
You
Like
just,
artistic
you just
gymnastics
can't
people.
you just can't let the
anything.
ball drop.
Yes.
And again, when Lindsay was talking about like just making things happen and volunteering, there was a period of time where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I felt very lost, but I had this idea that I wanted to work in some way with people with special needs possibly, or some sort of special population. I was like, okay, because I had this interest for a while in like ergonomics, maybe occupational therapy. Like I was sort of in that realm, and I was like, okay, I need exposure. So there was this one summer, I had a summer job where I worked, I think 8 to 4 were my hours. And I found a volunteer opportunity that was just once a week, but it was from 12 to 1. And I was like, I'm doing this. And of course, my mother was like, how are you going to do that? You have an 8 to 4 job. And I was like, okay. I also didn't have a car. So I'm like, okay, I need transportation and I need an approved lunch hour from 12 to 1 on these days. And I literally just called up my boss and I was like, I have this volunteer job. This is how much time I need to be away and this and that. And we worked it out. And then it was like, okay, how am I going to get there? My coworker, I was like, dude, can I take your car once a week? And I made it happen.
But because you didn't allow the excuses to take over your priorities.
It was just, I
right?
need to do this volunteer job. And then I also had the opportunity to also have a part-time personal training job after work, because again, fitness was also still in my, and I was like, okay, well, I still want to do this as well. So again, it was, how do I remember that summer, my dad saying to me, do you ever stop? And I was like, well, I don't have time to stop right now, but the goal is if I do all of this, then eventually I'm going to get where I need to be. So I remember I was working like crazy. I was probably working from 8 in the morning till 10 at night, 5 days a week, doing different volunteer jobs, working with different populations, doing personal training, and doing my regular 8 to 4 job because
you wanted to.
There was something I wanted to get. And if you want to get it, like Mark loves to say, you got to eat some shit.
Yes.
Well,
you got to pay your dues, man. I don't know where everyone comes from the idea that you can just fucking wake up in the morning and everything's going to be happening the way you want it to happen without putting any fucking work and effort into it.
Just stay hungry, people. Stay hungry.
Man. Right
That's
on.
it. That's the biggest thing, honestly. Like, if anything, stay hungry, stay driven, be a sponge, regardless of if you're a graduate or not yet. Like, just fuel the fire and just hopefully it'll stay lit.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
the biggest thing.
Don't get bullied. I honestly, I'm going to call up the people I don't know your body best, and I'm just going to empathize
Lord.
with them.
We're still on that.
Yes, because I don't like when people get bullied. I'll give you my last piece of bullying, and it bothers me so much. So there's this, there's this Niagara Facebook group, right? And I know this girl who, before I was heavily into the massage therapy Facebook community, this one person in Niagara, she contacted me. She's like, I would love to do the assessments course. Can you bring it out here and we'll find a bunch of people to take it and blah, blah, blah. So I that's how I kind of met her. And she's like, oh, join my Niagara group, blah, blah, blah. And so I joined her Niagara group. And I saw someone who's part of another Niagara Falls Facebook group sent her a message like in the group saying like, can you tell me what the purpose of this group is?
We already have
one. Maybe you should close this one down and bring everyone here into our group. And when I read this, I was like, what the fuck? I sent her a message. I'm like, listen, you keep this fucking group if you want to keep this group. You're only closing it down if you do not want it to close down. Do not be bullied by someone for no fucking good reason at all.
Well, she could also have a reason why she has her own group, right? I mean, be your own person. I think, yes, definitely don't get bullied. It's not worth it.
Fucking.
You tell him, Mark.
It bothers me. It bothers me because it's keyboard warrior. You're brave behind your keyboard.
See, this is why, okay, I love social media for like promotional purposes, but if like I have no apps on my phone because that is exactly why. I like positivity. I go on,
there's a lot of positivity.
Oh,
And there's a lot of like-minded people. And there's a lot of cool things. And even with all the negative stuff sometimes, I mean, I might view it as negative. Someone else might not. But if it's, you still learn shit off of it, and if anything else, you just get a good laugh out of it. And it gives us fucking material for
I was
this.
going to say, it gives us interesting stuff to chat about.
Oh, yeah, that is true. That is true.
Right on. This has been fun.
Dope. Thanks, guys.
Thank
This
you.
has been amazing.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool.
So that is the first episode of season 2 of Entrepreneurs. Guys, I hope you really, really took notes from this one because it is truly inspiring when you get together with people and, you know, linking these two amazing podcasts together to open people's horizons of what entrepreneurs are, the benefits of it, what plateaus feel like, and how to really overcome different situations that can occur throughout your career, which happen all the time. But you may want to stay tuned for the next episode because it is going to get pretty interesting here with all the different types of industries that we will dive into because Let's just put it this way. There's a lot of them out there. Like, subscribe, and comment on any platform that you would like and that you are listening on to. Until next time, guys, this is Lattes with Lindsay. I am your host, Lindsay Geiger.